Hi, welcome to Before They're Verified, the podcast where we support people who are pursuing things they are passionate about, regardless of the amount of likes or followers they have. I'm your host, Hannah, and this is episode 21, so thank you so much for listening. Today we have Kyle Andrews as our guest, and he is passionate about trading and selling collectibles. We dive into the business aspects of trading and selling, how his passion has led him to some amazing travel opportunities, and the ups and downs of monetizing your hobbies. I hope you enjoy. Perfect. So, here we go. We have the lovely Kyle, and if anyone is seeing the titles of the episodes, you'll notice a very similar last name from the previous guest I had.
And a similar background.
And a very similar. It's pretty much just the previous person cut their hair.
Yes.
And now here we have it. No, this is Kyle, and he happens to be the husband of Kara, who we talked to last episode. And I met both of them in college, so go Beebs. But Kara was my roommate, and so then Kyle was hanging out as well around the good old house.
The jungle.
The jungle, we called it.
Pseudo roommate, yeah, staying in Kara's closet bedroom.
Gosh.
I don't know if she talked about that, but that was miserable.
I'm honestly trying to remember if we had to have talked about it. That was Kara's choice. We all need to put that out there. Kara had the option to live in a larger room, and she wanted to live in the tiniest. It is a literal closet. She made it into a bedroom.
Yeah. I had the duck to be in there, so not an ideal situation.
No. But then you guys moved into your house. Did you guys have a name for your house?
Yes, the house we had in Corvallis was called the Dojo.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Those were some fun times too, because we would go over for dinners, like weekly dinners, and
yeah, we had dinners and Friendsgivings and all that stuff.
Yeah, Friendsgivings. Oh, I miss Friendsgivings.
Yeah, now everyone's spread out all over the place.
I know. We should all pick a central location. Like,
there we go. Back in Corvallis, baby.
Colorado.
Colorado. That's just further from everybody.
Well, now that Julia's over on the East Coast, and
no, that's true. Yeah, I guess so.
That's funny. But yes, so that's how we met. I do remember a very specific dinner because I think you're very kind, you're a very thoughtful person, Kyle. You made Kara like cashew cheese or something.
Ooh, I do kind of remember that. Yeah, that was the height of her lactose intolerance era. So we were trying to find lactose substitutes that you could still get that good creaminess from mac and cheese, but the cashews, it was more on the nutty side.
It was nutty, but it was good. I remember it.
I forgot about that. You bringing that up, I can taste it right now.
Like I should have added more salt.
Yeah, or something, please.
No, it was good. It was fun. I enjoyed those, and it was cool that that's what I miss about like college towns, especially now that I'm in LA. But you guys were like what, 3 blocks away from our house?
Yeah, something like that.
Super close. So we would just grab our stuff and walk over and have little dinners every week once Kara moved out, and then before you would come over and have dinners too. But you came, I guess, as well. We would just always switch back and forth like each week when it was. So that was fun. So yes, that's a little bit of background about Kyle and I. Remind me, what did you study in college?
Yeah, so I studied computer science, and I have a minor in business and entrepreneurship. And I am using that degree. I'm a computer scientist now. I'm software engineer. I write code for a consulting firm. So that's the business side as well. And then I assume what we're going to talk about here in a bit is some of that business acumen and where that comes in.
Watch me just not ask you any questions about that.
We're just leaving the listener hanging this whole time. Yeah.
The title will be, "You don't know what this is about." Cool. And did you always want to go into computer science? Did you enjoy that in college?
Not necessarily. It was a little bit of a late pivot. In high school, I thought I was going to go down like an architecture route. That's kind of something that inspired me and was always something that was on the forefront of my mind. I took drafting classes that my high school offered and was pretty into that. And then a family friend, neighborhood gal who was a couple years older than me, used to babysit me, that kind of thing. She
Mm-hmm.
went off to go to architecture school and returned before I went into college, and she could not find a job to save her life.
Oh, wow.
And I knew how smart she was. I knew how capable she was and everything like that. And it's like, well, if she can't do it, well, it makes me think that I'm
Wow.
going to be able to do it. Like prestigious university, the whole nine yards.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little disheartening. So I wanted to find something that I also was passionate about in a certain sense. So I did take some computer science courses in high school, and then kind of
Cool.
just went down that path. And it was an easy thing to do at Oregon State University. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs. Yeah, yeah, that's how you have to say it. Or at Oregon State University, Go Beavs. It's one
Yes.
name.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yes, wonderful. Because I remember you, you definitely being in computer science. I just wasn't sure if that was what you're doing currently. So you said you're working for a consulting firm.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful. And so then we're going to transition to the business. I'm also a minor in business and entrepreneurship. So we have a lot in common, you guys who are listening.
Certainly do.
Kyle and I are also both only children. So
Yes.
do with that what you will. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I like finding other only children. Just taking you under my wing.
Yeah.
But yes, so then the business side of it, let's transition into the main topic, which is not computer science specifically.
Please no, I've had enough of that today.
Exactly.
I like to cut it off at the 9 to 5 and then do the thing that
The,
actually
the
inspires me
5 to 9, right? Isn't that what
and
they
brings me
say?
joy. Yeah, well, some days we don't want to talk about that.
5 to midnight, 5 to 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Okay, so I'm going to let you, I decided this when I was writing my questions, because I'm going to let you just basic what your passion is, because I feel like there's a lot of moving parts to it, and then we'll explore from there. So if you just want to give me a little bit of rundown on the passion and what you do.
Sure. And feel free if there's questions as I go, because otherwise I will talk for our whole 40 minutes here
Perfect.
about this. So
Perfect.
in essence, I buy and sell collectibles online. That comes in a variety of forms. Primarily, I sell Pokemon cards and Lego. Those are like the two big revenues that I have. But I've also sold baseball cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, pretty much any collectible trading card game I've had some experience with. And as a part of that, I have gotten to travel the world doing that, specifically in the last couple of years. So some people may know that the Pokemon trading card game is a trading card game. There are tournaments that take place in different cities, different countries, and ultimately each year it culminates in the World Championships. Now, the World Championships over the past 2 years, last year it was held in Yokohama, Japan. So I went to Japan for that. And then the prior year in 2022, it was in London. So I was out in London for that as well. Not participating in any games,
Okay.
but purely there for the business side, buying and selling and trading
Okay.
with other collectors, other vendors, people there. Yeah.
Wow. So there is two sides of it then. Okay, perfect. So but then now that it's the basic, how did it kind of start? I'm assuming from childhood you had Pokemon cards and Lego. Like,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that where it
you
all
would hope
started?
so. Not too many people get into it like later in life, but yeah, I definitely had
No
that
judgment if you
childhood
do.
experiment. Yeah, yeah. No judgment at all, especially if you're buying my cards, like love to see that. So,
Exactly.
yeah, for me, I started or became familiar with Pokemon as a franchise, I think through the anime, watching it
Mm-hmm.
on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then that connection led to like going to Toys R Us and seeing the cards on the shelf and buying a pack. And
Mm.
eventually, what that led to is the story I tell is my dad telling me, if you can learn to read these cards, I will buy you more, which is,
Yeah.
in hindsight, an awesome decision, but it can also be looked at as a grave mistake, because you bet I was learning to read those cards,
Mm-hmm.
because that was some great motivation. But so that was That was when I was 6 years old. So that's 2003. And
Mm,
then I basically collected and played the game up until about 2010, which is the end of middle school,
okay.
because I found girls and sports.
They were lost. He found them.
Yes, I
It's
did.
perfect.
I don't know if they found me yet, but I certainly was interested.
Hey, things ended well, Kyle. Things ended well.
Yeah, they worked out all right, but that was a tougher time. But and then towards the end of high school, once I grew more confident in myself, I wasn't too worried about social stigma or pressure or anything like that.
Mm,
I became a little bit more involved in playing the game again, playing the video game, buying some cards here and there. And then I really jumped back into it again while we were in college.
mhm.
So I think like 2017, 2018 is really when I started buying and selling again more.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that a lot kind of changed. I was thinking about this when I was younger. I mean, we're pretty much the same age, but when I was younger, um, like eBay was a massive thing, and it was kind of like this newer, like it was almost kind of scary because you're like, are you like, should I be actually like bidding on things online? Like, how does this work? So once you like were in it when you were younger, and then when you got back into it in college, did you like have to kind of relearn what you were doing, or like how did that transition from time to time?
Yeah. So, first of all, that sentiment that you felt back then is still very prevalent today. I tell people that I sell on eBay and they think that I am scamming
Oh no.
constantly, because that's just the association that people have. But
Yeah.
it's a very real,
Yeah.
legitimate business. There's tons of people that make full-time livings, selling different items on eBay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that my perspective of everything definitely changed, because even when I got back into it in 2017, my goal was to buy and sell in order to fund more purchases, right? I wanted to buy more cards and
Yeah.
build my collection and do all this stuff. But it got to a point where, oh, I'm actually making like some extra money on top of this. This is more money than I'm making at the Oregon State surplus and recycling job that I
I
have.
forgot you were
Oh my God. I was thinking about that the other day. I was making $9.25 an hour, and that was only a couple of years ago. Like the
Oh,
whole $15 an hour thing just missed us. Like we
yeah.
we worked that really crappy
Oh,
stuff for $9 an
we
hour.
all had like jobs on campus. Like
Yeah.
Julia worked for like a catering thing, I think. Like Taylor
Yeah.
worked for like he would fix things in the dorms. Like we all just
Yeah.
had these
It was tough.
shitty college
Well,
jobs.
ironically, I was working listing stuff on eBay for the school.
Oh,
Like that was
fun.
part of the job, is if there was like excess science equipment that was either old or they were replacing it, or
Oh,
different items throughout the school that they needed to get rid of, they tried to recoup those costs. And one of the ways they did that was selling stuff on eBay.
smart.
So I think in the like 3 months I was there, I sold like $50,000 worth of items for Oregon State University. I got paid nine twenty
Yeah.
five an hour.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, Also, my building's breaking. Could you fix it?
Yeah, can you please fix this?
Stop
So I
giving
don't know if
money
I
to
if
football
I
teams.
answered your question there. It was about
Yes.
transitioning to learn to sell on eBay. So I think the main thing was just looking at it from more of that business
Yeah.
perspective. Like, okay, these are opportunities where I can make money on these cards, and then start taking that money, and instead of spending it on more cards, maybe help pay my rent, buy
Yeah.
some groceries, like all these actual useful, tangible things. So
Yeah, yeah. I do remember a time, I believe, I think it was probably the first time I realized that you did this was I think you like you went to Portland or something. I don't know if Kara went with you, but anyway, there was like a weekend where you came back and and I feel like I don't know, you came in and we asked you how it went, like how the conference or wherever you were at the trading or something, and Kara just like looked at you and then looked over at us and it said something about like, yeah, he spent a lot of money or something.
man, I'm trying to remember that. There's been so many
So many.
instances that I can't recall this exact one, but just
No,
know it's been going on for a while.
for a
So
while. But no,
yeah.
it's funny. I mean, like you're like the whole point of this is if you're passionate about it and you take the time, and like your dad said, if you take the time to learn it
Yeah.
and be interested in it, and if you're good at it and you enjoy doing it, go make your rent. Like,
Go for it. Yeah, that's the thing now is like I'm so deep in. I have so much knowledge from doing it for these years. Obviously, I'm still learning things here and
yeah,
there. That's part of the fun of it,
yeah,
but it would be foolish for me to not continue to be involved in the capacity that I can because there's so much value in what I do know.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Do you mind talking a little bit about, like you said, like the business aspect of it, of in a sort of kind of, do you spend a lot of time researching? Do you have to reach out to people? Like, I'm just curious how you even do it all, is
yeah,
pretty much.
there's a lot I can talk about here. Let me think of what makes the most logical sense. So from a research aspect, pretty much, anything that's happened in the past, I feel like I know it to a certain extent within the Pokemon world. It's a refined enough space that it's not too much information. Like after
Mm-hmm.
you've been in it for months or years, you kind of know the general thing. So
Mm-hmm.
as new cards come out. So perhaps I should describe like how Pokemon works
Yeah,
as a game and everything. So
I would love that.
let's see. Let's talk about the value aspect and how we attribute values to cards. So from the gameplay, like I mentioned earlier, there are tournaments that you can compete in. There's small local tournaments, regional tournaments, and then larger national and the world championships. Now, attached to those larger tournaments are significant cash prizes. They
Mm.
actually recently raised it this year. So if you win a regional championship, you earn $10,000 for
Okay.
first place. So it's a significant chunk of change. And then for placing highly at the world championships, you earn tens of thousands of
Right.
dollars in addition to prizing that is worth tens of thousands of dollars. So there's real money on the line, which can attribute value to this market for cards. So the way that Pokemon releases cards are in sets. A couple of times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, they will release a new set of cards, which is roughly 150 cards that you can go to Target or Walmart and
Mm-hmm.
buy a booster pack, and there's cards within there, and then using those cards you can make a deck of 60 cards. So, because there's a cash value attached to what you can do with these cards, they've been given utility. There's now a market that forms for these cards.
Mm.
If they're very good, you want to play them in your deck, there's higher demand, and it's just a law of supply and demand. Wherever
Right.
those crossover, that's what the market price ends up being. So, it's very common for a card to jump from $1 to $5 overnight just because
Okay.
of it has performed well in a deck. So, that is the gameplay aspect of it, whereas I focus more on like a collectible aspect of
Okay.
it. So stuff that maybe isn't as modern. It's not been released in these last couple of years. I have a lot of cards from the early 2000s, mid 2000s kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is referred to as vintage now, even though I don't feel vintage.
No, I
I'm
don't
from
either.
then, but so a lot of that, there's no utility with that, right? The way that Pokemon is able to make money is they create what are called formats. So you can only play cards from the last couple of years.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what forces you to constantly,
Keep
buy the
buying.
new product and it keeps things fresh. You're not always playing with the same cards.
Right.
But what that means is these older cards, they have no utility in the sense that they can't play and win you money. So what people value them for, now that's a great question. That's a billion-dollar question. But for me, a lot of it is nostalgia. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I was collecting is these cards brought me a lot of happy feelings of the cards that I collected or going back and trying to complete these sets for were the same ones that I had when I was a kid, when I was learning how to read and
Yeah.
just trying to rekindle those feelings because it's very scary being an adult. So buying some Pikachus makes you feel better.
Of course.
So there's so much to talk about from getting value out of cards, but I would say that for people maybe not as aware of what goes on in the hobby, the big thing, the big money grabbing, big attention getter is grading cards. So that is when you send a card to a professional company to have the
Oh.
condition assessed. So even though I do this, as a pseudo job, part-time job. I'm not a professional grader. So people value the opinion of these companies, and they can assign a massive premium to the value of their cards if they receive a high grade from these companies.
Gotcha.
So you may see like first edition PSA 10 Charizard sells for record high of $250,000. What does that mean? Well, someone sent their Charizard card that they pulled from a booster pack of first edition base set to a company called PSA, Professional Sports Authenticators.
Oh, wow.
And it received a Gem Mint 10 grade, meaning it met a variety of circumstances. Oftentimes, the grading companies look for four main things. It's the centering of a card, the surface of the card, the edges of the card, and what am I forgetting? I got so excited. Centering, surface, edges, and corners. There we go.
Oh.
Corners of the card. So
Oh,
those are the four main aspects. It would be easier with a visual aid, but you'll have to picture in your head the border on the outside, just everything looking flawless.
Perfect. It's a perfect card.
It's a
Just
perfect
came out
10. It's
of the sleeve.
Gem Mint 10. Yes, exactly. So people attribute a lot of value to higher graded vintage cards. And that's been traditionally a way that people have been able to make a lot of money within the hobby, is by grading cards and then selling them once they are graded. Now you may say, well, I had a Charizard growing up. Was my Charizard worth this much money?
That's exactly.
No, because you probably didn't keep it in that pristine condition.
Right.
That's the separating factor between these cards. So it's a lot of condition and rarity stuff.
Wow. Is there certain cards where, I'm assuming you said that they release them so that there's not the same sets every time, so that people have to play and and whatnot, but are there ones that are like only 5 are made kind of a thing? Like, how do we get into that? I'm just kidding. But I'm curious about it.
No, there absolutely is. And a lot of those releases that are way more limited are not released in that same booster box, booster pack thing. So it's not the stuff that you can go to the store and buy a booster pack and potentially get one of those cards.
I see.
For the really rare things, often they're either released through a lottery system or from winning a tournament.
Or on eBay.
So or on eBay. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them you can buy on eBay if you're willing to cough up the cash. Yeah. But a lot of cards that do have single or double digit release numbers are actually only available in Japanese, because they were only released in Japan.
Cool.
They just never made their way over to the States here. So that's another thing to consider, is Pokemon is a Japanese IP and has a massive collector base over there. And obviously Japanese Pokemon cards, they get their cards before us. They get way more exclusives than us, like those one of ones, or for most things, generally like 6 is the lowest number that it'll be. No.
I was thinking about that when I was like, oh, there's certain things just in general that have like very minimal, like even sometimes I think about this, like I'll like friends I went to high school with, or just people that I follow on Instagram will make prints of like their art. And like I have one, I think it's over there, but I have one where it's like on the back, like he wrote like 1 of 20 or 6 of 20. And I love that. I'm like, there's only 20 in the world of this, unless I don't know, but this exact printing of it. Like you're saying, it has that nostalgia and that like desire to want it. It makes you feel special.
Exactly. There's something very human and carnal about it. You want to have something that is special and unique to you. So people use that grading I mentioned earlier as a way of doing that. So for very, very rare cards, if you get it in a high grade, you would say, oh, this is pop 3. Meaning population 3. There are only 3 of this card in this grade in the entire world, kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's how people like to flex, for sure.
Flex how you need to, everybody.
Yep.
Now I know. So if someone flexes to me about that, I'll be like, okay, you're cool. I'll call Kyle. Excuse me, I need to talk to my businessman first.
Yeah,
my grader.
Yes, exactly.
My amateur grader. Cool. Okay, so then there's those levels, I'm going to call them because it's easier for me. But within your desire for cards and, like you're saying, nostalgia and what you want, have you found it difficult to acquire certain things? Is there like, I guess what my question is, what are the like ups and downs of putting all this energy and this work into finding certain cards you want or Lego, and like having you go through all that work? Are there issues or things that come up that you have to work through and deal with as a business side of it too?
Yeah, that's a great question because I do spend an exorbitant amount of time looking at stuff, looking at websites, just constantly on the hunt. But over the past couple of years, I have found and purchased a couple of like the final cards I really needed to complete what I was trying to do, which was a very satisfying feeling. It's a little bit of relief, it's a little bit of sadness because the hunt is over. And truly, that's like the most enjoyable part of it is the treasure hunt aspect, because it is not as simple for a lot of these things, a lot of these items, whether any collectible for the most part. You can't just go out and buy it. Like you can have all the money ready, but it's not presented to you. It's not publicly available. So you have to have the channels in order to buy that through. You have to be following the right person on Instagram and see when it gets posted, and like all these aspects that make it really difficult. And although that joy is something that I still chase, I will say that it has been drastically diminished by the business aspect of it. Right. So the way that I look at a card and evaluate something that previously just brought me joy, and I just see numbers, right? I'm like, what can I sell this for? What did I pay for this? Is now a good time to sell it? Should I be waiting? Am I going to hold on to this for 6 months and trade it at the World Championships because I know that this buyer from Portugal is going to give me a better number than what I can currently sell it for on eBay? Like, there's just all these things going through your head, and it removes a lot of that just enjoyment. Yeah.
This is a very specific question, but I'm going to ask it. Do you have like, and I'm going to preface by saying in the last couple of years, I've really gotten into reading again and books. And ironically, I decided to set my space up today behind my bookshelf because I thought it looked cute. But
it looks so cute.
Thank you. Very similarly, I feel like, if you know you're only going to have a card for like a little bit of time maybe, or like is there something where like you kind of present it somewhere? Do you have like a cool, again, this is a very specific question, but I do this with my books. Like I'll like have a certain area where like, okay, these are the books that I'm highlighting right now because they're pretty and cute and I love them. Like literally today, I just FaceTimed my cousin, a book in a series that we love dropped. We've been waiting like 2 years for this book to come out. Got it the day it came out, like already, reading it and everything like that. But does that kind of help you a little bit to be like, okay, this is a cool thing that I've acquired, but who knows if I'll have it forever? Do you have like a cool way to like display things and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. And as cliche as it may sound, for the stuff that I do not intend on keeping forever, it often does get posted on my Instagram.
Okay.
Because not only is that a great way to immortalize me having it, I have that photo of it, I can constantly look back at it.
Yeah.
It's also a great way to sell product. So there's people that follow me and know what I'm into and are constantly looking to buy. So there have been cards that I've purchased, and for one reason or another, generally the sum of money was too large to justify keeping it.
I see.
You do need to turn the inventory and sell it. But from an outside of like a perspective like that, like I do have some card stands and stuff on my desk and things here around the house where I will put little mementos and things that I enjoy. And if there's a card that like really makes me happy, that when it comes in the mail, it'll just sit on my desk for a couple of days and I just won't deal with it, just so I get the chance to look at it.
Stare at it.
Constantly.
I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just stare at my books. They're so pretty.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel like, that's a hard like you're saying, you're invested in this, and it started as a hobby, and it's become something that you can monetize and help you,
Hmm.
pursue other things. But also, yeah, it kind of does diminish it a little bit to where maybe you have to take a step back every once in a while, to really see what you have and like just kind of appreciate probably also all the work that you've put into it. Again, that's a lot of time. It's not just one card. You have all of these things that you've taken time to find and acquire and appreciated. And then going into the travel aspect, which I'm assuming helping when you're trading cards and when you're buying and selling in the business side of it, could maybe potentially help you go to those cool places and meet these cool people and whatnot. So how do you have to be invited to these things? Is it something that you just get to anyone can like buy a ticket to? How does those work? Because I remember when you were going to London, and then Japan now too. So that's super cool. So yeah, how does that kind of come about?
Yeah, and Honolulu this upcoming August. So
Is it
finally
every
back in the
August or,
States.
or something?
It is in August. Yeah, they
So
haven't
cool.
broken that yet. There's a chance they do break it this year. It might be in July, but we'll see.
Oh gosh.
So it is exclusive if you want to play in the tournament.
Okay.
So you have to receive an invite to play in the tournament by doing well enough at prior tournaments.
Okay.
However, for what I am doing, my intents and purposes, I am able to purchase a spectator badge, and that just grants you access to all the facilities and the surrounding areas. And generally, what has happened in these past couple of years, the Pokemon Company will place a sign around some seating area that says designated trading area,
Okay.
no buying or selling
I
allowed.
see. I see.
And so me and my friends will go in there and we will trade our wares for currency and cards.
Cards, cards. Uh-huh.
So
Yes, yes.
very yes, cards.
Of course. I heard that loud and
It's
clear.
very discreet. So it's funny because this past year in Japan, they very much cracked down on it.
Mm-hmm.
They were kicking people out. I got scolded once. I
Okay.
didn't even exchange any money, but he heard something I said and it put a security guard over the edge.
They're
But
serious.
that was not the case in London. Cash was flying in London. London was going crazy.
Even with no language barrier, they were fine. It was good.
Yeah, yeah. So that language barrier thing is like one of the most fun parts for me
Yeah.
because we didn't even really get into it at all, but there's a massive Japanese market, and like I kind of mentioned, they have a ton of products that we don't get in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this gap where they bring items to the world championships to offload to Westerners in exchange for items that they don't get in
Wow.
Japan. So there's this very sweet crossroads where we both get to benefit massively.
Oh, I love
So,
it.
and I've learned like a little bit of conversational Japanese in order to better communicate with Japanese vendors and ask them
Amazing.
how much items are. And I know how to like say different numbers and stuff because that's
Awesome.
all you need to know.
Right.
Is how
For the
much is
security
this?
people,
What
that's
does
all
it
they.
cost? Yeah, that's well, they don't speak Japanese. A
Oh,
lot of the security people they hire
okay,
because
okay.
they're Westerners. So,
I see.
but yeah, it's a crazy environment. It's a whole lot of fun. It's very much like a old timey trade
Yeah.
situation with like spices and
Yes.
textiles and
Mhm.
kind of thing, except it's cardboard and plastic. So
The new times, you know?
yeah, yep,
Value.
yeah,
I mean, our credit cards are plastic, so what
it's
can we
true.
say?
Yeah.
Have you met any like cool connections there, or is it mainly like do you go with people? I'm curious because it seems like a fun time, to be honest.
Yeah, so through this, I've made connections with people from all over the world. Like when it was in London, I got to meet my friend from Scotland that I've been talking to on. That's the thing about this is like there's this global community, right? So I've been talking to this guy since 2018 or something, and I finally meet him in person 4 years later at the World
Yeah.
Championships. And I got to meet a bunch of people from UK and other parts of Europe there. Met a very nice Italian man named Giovanni who made a large purchase from me, and I
Oh.
received a lot of euros. I've never held euros before, so
Yeah.
all sorts of fun stuff. yeah, I met a Japanese collector in London who, because I spoke a little bit of Japanese, I was able to help him with a deal. And then the next year, he remembered me. He saw me at the
Oh my
tournament in
gosh.
Japan and screamed out my name and was like so excited to see me. Came up, gave me a big hug.
Wow.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
there's been a ton of connections like that, getting to go out to dinner with all these people and just everyone comes from a different walk of life and it has
Yeah.
meant something else to them. So it doesn't necessarily matter that it's Pokemon. It could be a
Yeah.
lot of different things, but just like something that brings people together. I
Yeah.
think that there's something innately beautiful in that. So
Exactly. Yeah, the community that comes from it's really cool. Which, yeah, when I looked on your Instagram, I had seen like, yeah, you were at dinner or something, or just, taking pictures with a bunch of different people. And I honestly was like, oh, I wonder if he knew all of them before, or if he just met them and the connections happened then. So,
yeah, a little bit of both. People you know online, you
yeah.
finally meet in person,
Yeah.
and then some people like you put the screen name to a
Right.
face, and yeah, a little bit reverse
I'm
there,
sure
but
a lot of the profiles too. It's a lot of cards on like pictures of cards, not faces, right? So
yeah,
you don't
there's
even
there's
know.
no human aspect
Yeah.
to anything. So getting to meet these people and
Yeah.
talk to them, and a lot of them are, as you would expect, a little socially awkward.
Yeah.
We're collecting children's cardboard, but you know what? We all made it together, and it's fun.
I
So
think it's fun. That's so cool. Okay, I have a couple more questions before we get into rapid fire.
let's do
Um,
it.
One of them being, and disclose what you want. What is one card you have that you're like really proud of having? I don't know if there's like this like bubble around people who are like, "Oh, I have this card, but I don't want to like I can't talk about it because it's so
Yeah,
special." So if you have one of those you don't want to talk about it, please don't. If you have one though that you want to talk about that you have and explain to an amateur person who doesn't know cool things, tell me what you got.
sure. I can tell you about two. There's two that come out in my mind
Perfect.
that I have shown publicly,
Mm,
so it's okay if I
thank
if I
you.
disclose them as well here. So
Perfect.
we'll go the first one that I purchased, I think in 2021. There's gonna be a lot of words here that mean a lot of nothing, but I will describe what they mean.
I'm good. I'm ready.
It's a 2005 Stadium Challenge Deoxys.
Okay.
So what that means is it's a card that released in a tournament in Germany in 2005, but it's an English card and it's the Pokemon is Deoxys. It's a big alien dude
Okay.
and it just has a little stamp on it that says Stadium Challenge. And that's the name of that tournament. And it's significant because it's an English card that was released in Europe that there are roughly 50 copies of in the world.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
I've got one of those 50 and I actually owned two of them for a brief moment in time.
Wow.
But alas, one of them had to be sold to buy more exciting stuff, such as
Yes.
my number two selection here. And this is the one that I'd been hunting for years. Since I got back into the hobby, I was actively searching for it. I think since 2017, there have been two that were publicly available
Oh
and
wow.
maybe a couple other that were privately available. And I couldn't afford them at the time, but I was finally able to afford one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 2004 Tropical Wind Staff.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
Tell
In
me.
2004, in 2004 was the first Pokemon World Championships in general. And that was
Okay.
right after Nintendo took over the license to produce the trading cards from a company called Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
So when people think of retro Pokemon cards, you think of Wizards of the Coast cards. They had a little bit of a thicker border on the outside and had a more distinct look. But then essentially the license got transferred and then they started to do things their own way. And part of
Mm.
that was the introduction of the World Championships, like we've talked about so much. It's one of the best parts about the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is from that first tournament, and it is the staff version, meaning it has a stamp on it that says staff, and it was given to staff members at the event.
Oh, for a sec, that's what my brain went to. I was like, that can't be it, but that's it.
That's what it
How
is.
cool.
And it is very cool and it's significant because at that first event it wasn't very big
Yeah.
and they didn't anticipate, well, and rightly so, there just weren't a lot of participants, right?
Yeah.
Very, very low attendance, corresponding very, very low staff count. So that is another card where there's only a couple dozen copies of it in the world, and I have one of
And
them.
you have one of them. That's
Yeah.
cool. Sweet. When I come to visit, I'll have to peek at them
Okay.
if I can.
We'll see.
Am I
We'll see
allowed
if you're
to?
allowed to. Yeah,
Are they in a
of course.
special safe where you have
They
to be at a
they
certain
are
temperature?
they are in a safe.
I believe it. I 100% would do
Yeah.
the same if I had them.
Yep.
I'm excited for you that you got those.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question is looking into the future, Kyle. You ready? Just
Okay.
see yourself. No. We've talked a lot about the transition over the years of you getting back into it. We've talked about how it's an amazing thing. You get to meet all these people, but also can be a little bit exhausting and doesn't have as much excitement sometimes. But in your future self, do you see yourself continuing to do this for a long time? Is it something that you can kind of like hop in and out of, or once you're out of it, does it take a lot to get back into it? And then also, I'm going to give you a double question. Is there something that, like, you know, when you're older, and would you consider like opening up a shop, or like getting other people involved, or kids, or like little things like that? Like, what do you want to do with it, I guess, other
Sure.
than where you're at?
Yeah. No, this is a great question, and as my time becomes more and more limited as we get older, right? It's a very pertinent thing. So I picture continuing being pretty involved in the hobby for several more years, basically in the capacity that I am now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the nice things about it is, from a business aspect, I have a fair amount of cards that aren't listed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I need to take the time to make them available for sale. And as I have those blocks of time, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I make things available for sale. They are now listed for perpetuity until somebody buys them, or
Mm-hmm.
I take them down. So it's not so much time investment constantly. You can just do these small chunks, which will enable me to continue doing it longer,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I just like take the time to ship the items once someone buys them. So
Right.
for in that sense, I will be able to do it for a very long time. But being able to constantly be trying to source product, buying things from Japan, communicating with a middleman, trying to set up all this shipping logistics,
Mm-hmm.
like not the easiest thing, and it's pretty time consuming. So I could see that trailing off. As far as potentially owning a shop or some sort of business, I have a pretty close relationship with a local shop owner here
Oh,
in
cool.
Seattle. So I've gotten some of the insights to that, and I can confidently say that that is not something that I am interested in doing.
Just off the
Um,
table.
yeah, no,
That's too
not
funny.
necessarily something that's in the works for me.
Yeah.
I've thought about more in a general sense of a, what's the proper way to say this? The phrase pawn shop just has so
Oh,
many
yeah. I know what you mean,
negative
though.
connotations to it. But I want a place where people can bring in items that they are proud of, collectibles, art, anything that they attribute value to,
Mm-hmm.
and either be paid cash for it, be able to sell it and consign it in the store, or trade it for other items that they see in the store.
Yeah.
So some sort of physical location marketplace thing. I think that that's something that's lacking. I don't know of any place that really does that. There's some stores that do that for like vintage clothes and
Right.
sneakers and toys to a certain extent, but there's not really any place that kind of combines
Mm-hmm.
all of those aspects. Now it scares me because, like a pawn shop, many of the items in there will be stolen, and there's like a
Yeah.
whole variety of problems
Security.
that come with
Yeah.
that. So I we haven't figured out the logistics yet, and nobody out there steal my idea.
No.
But or if you
This
do,
will be
just,
timestamped, so.
yeah, there we go. Pay me a franchising fee or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I see it. I do like the flexibility of the time and the hours that this takes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have the desire to do it full time, but it is an excellent side gig.
Yeah. It sounds like you do enjoy it, and obviously it's coming from a place of I don't know, it's just coming from a place of when you were younger. So it's just bringing you and your personality through all these transitions in your life. And I think it's a cool thing. I think a lot of people, they lose that about themselves. There's certain things from when they were younger or that they used to love to do, and it's gone and they don't think about it anymore. But I think things like this, where even if you kind of fall out of it, but you get back into it, it just kind of helps instill who we are and lets us enjoy the little things that we used to, like we said, our 5 to 9 instead of our 9 to 5, right?
Exactly. I love hearing what people are passionate about. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a hobby, it can be
Yeah.
whatever it is you spend your time doing that brings you joy. I think just hearing people talk with that emotion in their voice, like
Yeah.
that's really what makes it worth it. So
Yeah.
find something that sparks joy and share it with the world.
Exactly. Perfectly said. And with that, are you ready for some rapid fire questions, Kyle?
That's what I've been waiting for the whole time. Let's get it.
Okay. I have my notes here. I have to see them. I'm blind. Here we are. Okay. As the rules are of the rapid fire, yes, it is called rapid fire. No, you do not have to say them fast.
Oh, well, I was like,
But
get my
it's
mouth ready here.
encouraged. It's
Okay.
encouraged. It's just, I feel like my questions sometimes are long. So if you need time to think, it's okay. But are you
These are
ready?
rapid strike questions for any Pokemon fans out there. Okay, here we go.
I'm learning
Little,
so much.
little joke.
There are 5 questions. Here we go. I feel like I need like a timer. I feel like we're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go. What fictional world would you visit if you could? Fictional world.
Fictional world. Oh gosh. I mean, it's got to be the Pokemon universe. We
Okay,
just talked about it for an
exactly.
hour. So.
That was what I was getting at, but I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
tell you what you could answer. Okay. You're on the dance floor, right, Kyle?
Constantly.
Everyone, Kyle's good at dancing. You're on the dance floor and a song comes on and you just start going crazy. What song is playing?
Oh man, I feel the pressure.
I know, it's hard.
Yeah. And now I'm forgetting the name of the song. The song that came out in 2018 by Sheck West that we
Okay.
used to absolutely mob to. So
Love it.
one of those bangers. Live Sheck
Perfect.
West. There we go.
2018.
Yeah.
Staff stamp. Okay.
Snaps.
If you got to compete in the Olympics in any sport or activity that they have, which one would you choose?
Ooh, I would go for hurdles. I feel like you just look like an absolute gazelle out there. That's a pretty
I would have never thought of
aerodynamic
that.
one.
That's a good one. We're both also
Yeah.
tall, so yes,
Yeah.
right there for it. Okay, this one's more sentimental. What's one of your favorite memories from the last year?
This year.
Your wedding wasn't
Yeah,
then,
I
so
was
you're
like doing
good.
the
You're
math.
good.
Like, whew. Kara, if it was sooner the wedding. Let's see. I think it's pretty hard to beat going to Japan.
Mhm.
Like I genuinely had an amazing time, foundational memories that I will have forever.
Yeah.
And besides that, getting my puppy Ellie.
Yeah, your puppy's so cute. I can't wait
Yeah,
to
yeah, Ellie.
meet them. Perfect. And this actually kind of transitions well then into the last question. Where's somewhere that you want to visit that you haven't visited already? You've been to Hawaii, right?
I have been to Hawaii,
Okay.
but it was on my honeymoon after my wedding, and I got COVID at my wedding. So
Stupid
this
COVID.
actually Pokemon is like kind of giving us a redo at this. So thank you, Pikachu.
Thank you, Pikachu.
Thank you, Pikachu. So we're just talking about this with Kara. We were talking about should we go to Europe
Mm.
or should we go to Southeast Asia? And I think
Wow.
we landed on Southeast Asia. So I think sometime
Beautiful.
in the future we might go to Thailand,
Yeah.
maybe South Korea.
All right. The last thing I do of every podcast episode is ask the lovely guest a group, organization, or charity that they support. So I'm just going to give the floor to you, Kyle, if you want to talk about one that you chose.
Yeah, I chose Operation Hope, which I pulled up their mission statement here so that I can properly articulate everything that they
Perfect.
are trying to do. But They talk about economic inequality, financial illiteracy, social justice, inequitable access to capital, and lack of financial dignity are real and systemic issues that have hindered economic growth and opportunity for underserved individuals and small businesses for over 400 years in America. So a lot of what I just talked about was very capitalistic. It was very money focused, and I have a passion for financial literacy and helping people do what they can with the money that they have. And this charity provides opportunities, learning opportunities, business opportunities to people who are less fortunate or did not grow up to be in privileged situations and circumstances that I have been fortunate enough to have. So I think that they are an excellent foundation and organization to donate to. So I plan on making a donation after this. So
yeah. Wonderful. We encourage everyone as well. We thank you. That's lovely. I will on my website there's a little drop down, all the organizations, every single link of every single episode I've ever done for that. So Kyle's will be added to that. If they have Instagram handles or anything, I'll add that. But this will be posted on Instagram as well. So make sure to check them out, everybody. And thank you, Kyle, for bringing that to our attention. I haven't heard of them, so I'll definitely go check them out. With that, I want to just say thank you. It was wonderful speaking to you. Is there anything else that you want to say or that we didn't get to? We talked about a lot though, so I'm happy.
No, I think this was great. I could talk for hours about this. It is something that I'm passionate about. It brings me joy. Yes. And genuinely, if anyone out there has any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I think Hannah will be tagging my Instagram or putting it somewhere.
Yep.
My internet persona is Young Bambino. So I'm Young Bambino _collects. Yeah. But if you want to talk about Pokemon or if you have other financial questions about monetizing your hobby, please feel free to reach out to me.
Perfect. Alrighty. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I hope to see you sooner than the last time I saw you guys. And we'll talk to you soon and all the best with your puppy and
Thanks,
traveling. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 21 of Before They're Verified. Keep up to date on my Instagram at Before They're Verified to see when the next episode will drop. Also, if you'd like to be a guest or if you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest, please head to my website beforethey'reverified.com to fill out the form. You can also find all the episode and charity links there as well. Now go and do something that makes you happy. I'll see you next time.